Afternoon, can I ask what you're doing here?
I work here. What's the problem?
We got a call about someone loitering. Do you live in this building?
No, I told you, I work here.
Sir, I need to see some ID.
Fine. Like I said, I'm the janitor. Been working here 3 years. These are my keys.
That could be fake. Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
What? Are you serious right now?
December 15th, 2024, afternoon, Riverside Apartments, Chicago. A man in his 30s, jeans and hoodie, stands near the entrance of a modern apartment complex. Sunlight casts sharp, natural shadows across the brick facade. A body cam lurches forward, fish-eye lens distorting the scene. The sound of distant traffic hums faintly, mixed with a soft wind. This man is not a suspect. He is not a criminal. He is a maintenance worker, a janitor, someone who has spent years caring for the building, ensuring its lights work, its hallways are safe, its residents comfortable. And yet, in the space of one tense encounter, his identity is questioned, his credibility doubted, his dignity stripped away. Before we continue, what city are you watching from? If this is your first time listening, support the channel by liking and subscribing. Stories like this need to be told, and with your help, we can make sure these events don't go unheard. The police officer's voice cuts through the calm afternoon air, slightly muffled by the body cam microphone. Afternoon, can I ask what you're doing here? The maintenance worker turns. His hands are visible, calm, controlled. I work here, what's the problem? A call had been made, someone reporting suspicious activity, someone who didn't recognize him, someone who assumed he did not belong. The body cam jitters slightly as the officer steps closer. Tension coils in the air like static. The man reaches for his ID, slowly, carefully, demonstrating cooperation, showing nothing to hide, a work badge, a ring of keys, proof. And yet the officer interrupts. That could be fake. Turn around. Put your hands behind your back. Shock, anger, confusion. Words fail to capture the sheer humiliation of being accused, questioned, and treated like a criminal, while carrying a badge that proves the truth. This is not an isolated incident. This is a glimpse into the fractures of a system where assumptions override evidence, where identity is questioned by the color of skin, by a uniform that doesn't match perceived authority. How does a man who has spent 3 years caring for a building end up pinned against a wall, his competence doubted, his humanity questioned? And that is what we are here to investigate. Because what happened on that afternoon in Chicago is not just one man's story. It is a story about trust betrayed, systems failing, and the silent rules that allow injustice to creep into ordinary life. By the end of this episode, you will see the incident from every angle: the escalation, the confrontation, the public exposure, and the systemic fallout that followed. And you'll be forced to ask yourself, how many times does this happen, unnoticed, in cities across the country? His name is Marcus Hayes, 34 years old, Chicago-born, raised in the South Side, where streets teach lessons in survival, but neighborhoods teach loyalty. Marcus is the kind of man who shows up before dawn, wears the same scuffed work boots, the same hoodie that has patches from years of scrubbing, repairing, fixing. For 3 years, he's been the unseen engine of Riverside Apartments. Residents know him by face, by smile, by the quiet professionalism he carries like armor. He doesn't just fix leaking pipes or flickering lights. He carries small comforts for tenants, a bag of groceries delivered to an elderly resident, a smile for a child learning to ride a bike, advice for a young couple struggling with rent. Small acts that collectively define his integrity. Marcus is not flashy. He is not loud. He does not seek praise, but his work ethic is impeccable. He logs hours meticulously, checks maintenance requests with precision, and trains new staff with patience. And yet, in that afternoon moment outside Riverside Apartments, none of it mattered. He had plans that day, a routine that had taken years to establish. And like every day, he carried his badge and keys, not just symbols of employment, but of trust. Yet, the world had already decided to distrust him. Neighbors describe him as reliable, hardworking, someone you can count on when things go wrong. Tenants call him family. His supervisors call him indispensable. Marcus is the definition of ordinary heroism. Someone who blends into the background until the world forces him into a spotlight he never asked for. He is, in every sense, exactly the kind of man who should be left alone to do his job. But ordinary heroism is fragile. Fragile in a city where assumptions carry weight, where one call, one glance, one hurried judgment can erase years of credibility in the span of a few tense minutes. That day, Marcus was about to be reminded that no amount of dedication can protect you from the gaze of suspicion. Riverside Apartments sits on the north edge of Chicago's near west side, a modern building of steel and glass, sharply contrasting the older brick facades around it. Sunlight glints off polished windows, reflecting a city that prides itself on progress, yet hides deep-seated divisions beneath its glossy surface. The streets are alive even in the afternoon lull. Car horns punctuate distant traffic. The occasional siren wails. Birds circle above the rooftops. Sidewalks bustle with residents, parents wrangling children, delivery workers wheeling carts, office employees striding to lunch. And there's Marcus, standing by the entrance, badge visible but body relaxed, carrying keys, clipboard in hand, just part of the flow. To most, he blends into this environment. To one caller, he did not. To one neighbor, one passerby, he did not belong. Chicago is a city of contrasts. Wealth and poverty collide block by block. Luxury condos rise beside aging tenements. A man in a hoodie standing outside a high-rise can trigger suspicion even when he is authorized, even when he is doing his job. The building itself, meticulously maintained, is a world of order. Yet the streets outside are unpredictable. Strangers walk past, glance, judge, and sometimes misinterpret. One resident saw a man by the entrance, unfamiliar in appearance, and called 911. Their perception a threat, their reality a man who has spent years caring for their apartments. It's in this contrast, the calm interior versus the chaotic exterior, the familiar versus the assumed outsider, that the incident finds its stage. Marcus, carrying evidence of his belonging, stands at the intersection of perception and prejudice. The environment is not neutral. The social cues are layered. A black man alone near a luxury apartment in broad daylight can be instantly criminalized in the eyes of someone who doesn't know him. Every camera, every witness, every passerby becomes a lens through which assumptions are filtered, and this is what makes the false accusation inevitable. The city, the building, the streets, the social fabric, all conspire to transform ordinary presence into perceived threat. Marcus, calm and professional, is about to be swept into a confrontation that will expose every flaw in that system. The body cam lens wobbles as the officer approaches. Sunlight hits the pavement, throwing jagged shadows across Marcus's jeans. He hears the shuffle of boots, the faint static of a radio, and a voice that will upend his afternoon. Afternoon, can I ask what you're doing here? Marcus turns, clipboard in hand, hands open, calm, reasonable. I work here, what's the problem? The caller had reported someone loitering. No description, no verification, just a snap judgment over a phone line. In one moment, Marcus's years of service are erased. The officer's gaze narrows, scanning Marcus like he's a suspect in a file. There is no recognition, no pause, no invitation to explain beyond the first question, just authorities, cold, rigid, unwavering. We got a call about someone loitering. Do you live in this building? Marcus shakes his head. Frustration begins to color his voice. No, I told you I work here. The officer interrupts, sharp, skeptical. Sir, I need to see some ID. The wind picks up. Leaves swirl across the sidewalk. Distant traffic hums. Birds circle overhead, oblivious to the tension below. Marcus reaches for his pocket. Slow, deliberate, compliant. He pulls out his wallet, then a work badge dangling from a lanyard inside his hoodie. Like I said, I'm the janitor. Been working here 3 years. The officer steps closer, tone escalating. That could be fake. Turn around, put your hands behind your back. Shock registers across Marcus's face. Anger bubbles beneath calm. What? Are you serious right now? The camera lurches as the officer advances. His voice rises. I said, turn around. You're being detained for investigation. Marcus backs toward a brick wall, hands raised, caught between compliance and disbelief. This is ridiculous. Call the building manager. A faint crackle of radio static underscores the surreal scene. The world seems to shrink. The city noise is fading into a tense vacuum of accusation. The absurdity of the situation is overwhelming. A man with credentials in hand, treated as a criminal. This is the moment the false assumption crystallizes. A single call, filtered through bias and misperception, has triggered a cascade of events that no logic can immediately reverse. And the public stage is set. The cameras, the witnesses, the city itself, all watch as a routine day morphs into a confrontation that threatens dignity, career, and emotional stability. The officer's shadow stretches across Marcus, sharp and authoritative. The afternoon light highlights the sweat forming along Marcus's brow. Each step the officer takes feels calculated, a quiet power being exerted. Turn around, hands behind your back. Marcus complies, slowly. Every motion deliberate, nothing abrupt, nothing threatening. Yet, in the officer's eyes, compliance does not equal innocence. It fuels suspicion. Step away from the wall. Marcus steps. His fingers clutch the badge and keys. He's calm, but inside, frustration coils like a snake. His voice is measured. I'm showing you my ID. I work here. You can call the building manager. The officer ignores him. Instead, he leans in, voice sharper, clipped. We take these calls seriously. You don't fit the description, but that doesn't mean... The sentence cuts off, drowned by the sound of city traffic and the static crackle from the radio. Marcus notices pedestrians pausing, glances thrown, some curious, some wary. The public theater is real, and he is its unwilling star. The body cam wobbles as the officer adjusts stance, tilting slightly to maintain visual dominance. Marcus, realizing reason will not suffice, steps back toward the brick wall, pressing himself into it, his hands raised like a flag of surrender. Please, I'm not resisting. I work here. 3 years, my badge, my keys, my job. The officer's response is a mix of skepticism and authority tinged with impatience. Sir, I said you're being detained. Step aside now. A car door slams down the street. A bird screeches overhead. The city continues indifferent to the human drama unfolding on its sidewalks. Marcus's voice cracks slightly, the edge of anger and humiliation bleeding through. This is ridiculous. You're detaining someone who works here. My boss, the officer cuts him off. The tone shifts, commanding. Enough! Turn around! Hands on the wall! Now! For a moment, the absurdity of the escalation hits him, proof in hand, keys jingling, compliance. And yet, his authority, earned over years of diligent work, is ignored. His identity is questioned. His dignity is threatened. A subtle tremor runs through his body, not from fear alone, but from the realization that this is the everyday reality for too many. A single assumption, one call, one misperception can erase years of credibility in an instant. Nearby, a resident peeks from behind a curtain, smartphone poised. Another glances from a passing car. The incident is no longer private. The stage expands. The scrutiny intensifies. Marcus's humiliation, like a ripple, spreads outward into the city itself. And in that moment, the audience feels it. The weight of injustice, the imbalance of power, the fragility of credibility when confronted by authority, unchecked by reason. Marcus pauses, deep breath, hands raised, keys jingling, badge dangling from his lanyard. He knows the evidence is in his favor, tangible proof, undeniable proof. Yet the officer's doubt lingers in the air like a stubborn fog. Look, seriously, I've shown you my ID, my badge, keys. I've worked here 3 years. The officer steps closer, eyes scanning the badge, his lips tighten. For a moment, the facade of authority wavers. The camera captures every flicker, disbelief, the faint tightening around his jaw, the micro-expression of embarrassment. Marcus lifts the badge closer to the body cam lens, the letters maintenance, Riverside Apartments, clear in the afternoon light. He holds up the ring of keys, every key a symbol of trust, of work performed, of responsibility entrusted to him. See this? This is not fake. You're detaining the janitor, not a criminal. The officer falters, his voice, once booming and commanding, lowers, rough with hesitation. All right. The absurdity is palpable. A trained professional equipped with authority and a badge caught mid-confrontation, now confronted with evidence that contradicts every assumption he made. Marcus's eyes, sharp, controlled, unwavering, lock on the officer. No triumph in his voice, only the gravity of injustice laid bare. I work here, I've been here 3 years, and yet, here I am, treated like a criminal in broad daylight. The public watches. A neighbor leans from a balcony, smartphone recording, capturing the officer's hesitation. The body cam's fish-eye lens records the shift, the balance of power tilting from suspicion to recognition. The officer's face flushes with humiliation, a micro-expression, gone in a second but caught forever on digital record. His command has faltered. The system that gave him unquestioned authority has collided with reality, and the truth is non-negotiable. Marcus lowers his hands slowly, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. The world around him, distant traffic, birds, faint wind, returns to normal, yet nothing feels normal anymore. The reversal has happened. The false assumption, once powerful enough to detain high, is now emblematic of a broader societal challenge. How assumptions and authority collide to create preventable injustice. And the officer, reputation damaged, authority questioned, career trajectory uncertain. Every time he steps into uniform, every interaction with the public carries the weight of that viral moment. A lesson in accountability, public scrutiny, and the power reversal that occurred in seconds, yet will echo for years. This is the part of the story that makes people uncomfortable. Because once the footage ends, once the officer steps back, once Marcus lowers his hands, the real question begins. Why did this happen at all? Marcus didn't match a description of a crime. He wasn't breaking into a car. He wasn't trying doors. He wasn't hiding his face. He was standing at his workplace in broad daylight. So what exactly triggered the call? The answer sits in a quiet, ugly place most people don't like to examine. Assumption. Pattern recognition shaped by bias, a cultural reflex that tells some people they belong and tells others they must prove it. In America, authority is often granted visually, uniforms, suits, badges, lanyards, but that authority is fragile when it sits on certain bodies. For Marcus, the hoodie canceled the badge. The skin color outweighed the keys. The assumption overruled the evidence. And that's the part that matters, because the officer didn't escalate due to danger. He escalated due to doubt. Doubt that Marcus's credentials were real. Doubt that his calm demeanor meant compliance. Doubt that someone like him could legitimately belong there. Ask yourself this: would the same interaction have happened if Marcus were wearing a polo shirt and khakis? Would the badge have been questioned if his skin tone were different? Would the call have even been made? The system tells us these are isolated incidents, that they're misunderstandings, that they're regrettable but rare. But the footage tells a different story. It shows how quickly authority can turn suspicion into humiliation, how easily compliance becomes irrelevant once doubt takes hold, how the burden of proof quietly shifts from the accuser to the accused. Marcus did everything right. Hands visible, voice calm, credentials ready, and still, it wasn't enough. This is how trust erodes, not with dramatic acts of violence, but with everyday encounters where dignity is negotiated under threat. And here's the most unsettling part. If the cameras weren't rolling, this story would have ended differently. No viral outrage, no investigation, no settlement, no policy change, just another man sent home, shaken, angry, humiliated, and silent. So ask yourself, how many times has this happened without witnesses? How many people complied and were still punished? How many never got the chance to prove who they were? Because the real injustice isn't just what happened to Marcus, it's how normal it felt to everyone watching. Let's go back to that first moment. Marcus standing outside Riverside Apartments, keys in hand, badge on his chest, doing his job. A phone call changed everything. In less than 5 minutes, he went from trusted employee to suspected criminal, from caretaker to detainee, from invisible worker to viral symbol. And even after the truth was revealed, even after the officer stepped back, something was permanently taken from him, that sense of safety, that assumption of belonging, that quiet dignity of just doing your job without fear. Because here's the truth, no policy reform can erase. Marcus now knows how thin that line is, how quickly authority can be weaponized, how easily identity can be questioned, and so do we. The footage ends, the headlines fade, the comments stop scrolling, but the question remains, heavy, unresolved, unavoidable. If proof isn't enough, if compliance isn't enough, if years of service aren't enough, then what is? And more importantly, who gets the benefit of the doubt and who never does? If this story made you uncomfortable, good. If it made you angry, even better. Because silence is how these stories disappear. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Do you think this would have ended the same way in your city? And if you believe stories like Marcus's deserve to be heard, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Because the next time this happens, the cameras might not be rolling.